I couldn't remember the reason why I wasn't wearing this dress, and now I remember. If the girls pop out, you gotta let me know, okay? Becca looks really good in that blue dress. I'm actually starting to dig her hair a lot. Just the juxtaposition with her dark hair, her skin tone, and that dress. I mean, the sequins, it was beautiful. I wish they would give her some tape because I feel like she's always trying to check for the girls, and it kind of takes away from the outfit when you feel like the person wearing it is a little uncomfortable, as you'll see with me wearing this dress. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another episode of my recap of the Bachelorette Becca's season 14. This episode was episode 2, so let's jump right into it. We started this episode with Becca taking a bike ride around Venice, California, which is so weird. It turns out that they're going to have a group date. So they do have a group date. She picks a bunch of guys to go on a group date. Lincoln, Jordan, David, Connor, and I think Nick are amongst that first group date. They're told that they're going to get pampered, and so they get into tuxedos. She's wearing all white, so they're thinking it's some kind of wedding situation. So they all get into the tuxedos. Jordan is pretty confident, you know. He tells her he's a model. He tells her how to do her walk, and before she puts on her pantyhose every morning like it's 1950, that she's got to put on her confidence. Thanks, Jordan. That was great advice. So then after that, she takes him down, and it turns out it's an obstacle course. Girl, and if you remember the obstacle course from Rachel's season, as I do, where they had to, like, you know, vacuum and put on baby diapers and do all this stuff, the obstacle courses mean nothing. The winner always cheats, and everybody else is always mad about it. So the winner in this obstacle course, which was called Ball and Chain, which was hosted by Rachel and Brian, who... Rachel, she's so fun. One of the stipulations of this obstacle course is when they get to a certain point and they're eating cake, they cannot use their hands. And she says, "What it do with that mouth dough?" And I was like, yes, Rachel, yes, come through with the jokes. The guys play the game. Lincoln cheats. He wins. He's so excited. They get a little picture at the end of it. And it's like, you know, all fun and games, and the rest of the dudes are pissed, but whatever. So they go back into the house to have the rest of their group date. As soon as not Rachel gets there, is what I'm going to call Becca from now on. Just kidding. As soon as Becca gets there, Lincoln completely takes advantage of the situation and grabs Becca's hand and takes her off to have like a little private one-on-one. The rest of the guys, again, are pissed. While they're on that one-on-one, Becca gives him a framed picture of him winning and holding her underneath the ark at the altar. And so it's kind of cute, but he's like covered in cake and mud after the obstacle course. And he's really excited about it. And he says, you know, that kiss that we did out there wasn't good enough. Let me show you what a real kiss is like. And so they have their kiss. Lincoln says kissing Becca was like riding on the back of a Pegasus to the moon, listening to unicorns sing next to a pot of gold and leprechauns. And I'm just like, okay. And then he goes back out to join the rest of the guys, and he takes a picture and he's like, look guys, look what I got. And he sits it on the table like right on top of the rose, and the guy's like, whoa, 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 put that away. We don't need to see it. Don't put it on the rose. And so he proceeds to just like move it out of the way a little bit, but he still keeps it on the table in front of them. And the guys are very upset about this, especially Connor. So while Becca is off talking to the other guys, having her little one-on-ones with them during the group date, Lincoln becomes antagonistic towards the rest of the guys, and he's playing with the picture. He's like, ooh, Becca, oh, okay, I'm gonna sit this right here. Oh, everybody, look at me and Becca. What? Babe, what'd you say? You know, doing all that kind of stuff, and it is making everyone annoyed, upset. And finally, Connor takes the picture frame and like throws it. Lincoln picks it up, puts it back on the table and says, no, I want this to be right here. And Connor's like, no, you're just throwing it in our faces. Why are you doing this to us? It's really upsetting. And he's like, where am I supposed to put it? In my pocket? It's a big picture frame. And he's like, you know what? I know where I'm going to put it. Connor takes the picture, picks it up, and throws it out the window and launches it into the pool. Lincoln is hurt. Obviously, that was a tactic by Lincoln to fluster the guys, to be antagonistic and all those things. And Connor fed right into it. But he also fed into it because the rest of the guys were slowly and quietly grumbling about this thing as well. But nobody was willing to act a fool for it. And here comes Connor. Lincoln literally waits. It feels like he's actually waiting for her to come out of the bathroom to tell on everyone. He's waiting at the landing on the stairs. Becca looks like she's just come from either another private date or the bathroom. And she walks down and she's like, hey, what's up? She's wearing a fantastic red pantsuit, by the way. I mean, it's beautiful. It fits her like a glove and it's got like, it's just beautiful. It's got gold. It's my thing. And so she walks down to Lincoln and he's like, oh, you know, I just wanted to tell you something. And they're sitting on the steps and he proceeds to tattle on Connor and say how aggressive Connor was and he feels unsafe, you know, with Connor there. And Becca's just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what to think about it. Like, this is crazy. And honestly, it really is too early. And this is what she says to Connor. She ends up having a private conversation with Connor and she says, honestly, Connor, it's too early in the game for this. Like, these antics, like, why did you do the picture? And he's like, well, he was just throwing it in my face and I just didn't want to see it anymore. And she's like, yeah, but like, right? And he's like, no, you're right. My bad. And you know, she's trying to like explain to him what's wrong and he keeps on trying to talk over her to like explain himself. And she's getting a little frustrated with that behavior. And so at the end of their little talk, it doesn't look like Connor's going to hang around. So after that, she has her first one-on-one date with Blake. I really like Blake. He has like a square head, but I love it. It's like very geometric in shape, but I think he's so endearing and he's just saying all the right things. They have a date where they get to meet Little John. They go to a space, like a warehouse, and there's just a lot of breakable things like TVs, wine glasses, you know, chandeliers, all kinds of breakable glass things. And they are just in there breaking things with a bat. I mean, just demolishing all kinds of things. A car that has Ari's name on it. Really just letting go of their exes and ready to move on. And it turns out, we found out later on that Blake had an ex who cheated on him recently, and he knows now the depth of his willingness and ableness to love somebody, and so he's willing to open himself to this process to get to know Becca. And I feel like they're really vibing, and I like the vibe that they're getting. And if we remember, in Rachel's season, Peter had the very first date, and Peter made a great impression on Rachel and America. And, you know, it was very endearing. And I feel the same way about Blake, except for I still love Peter so much more. So after that, she has another group date. So during the group date where she had with Lincoln and Jordan and all those characters, she also had a little one-on-one time with Jean Blanc. And it seems like they had a really good time together. Their kiss seemed really nice. And I think she was like feeling his vibe. And I liked his vibe too. It was relaxed. You could tell he was a little nervous, but it was still relaxed and genuine. And I think that's all anyone's looking for in the very beginning of this process. So due to the great behavior with Jean Blanc and their little great one-on-one, he ends up getting the rose at the end of that date. And Lincoln boy is shocked. Lincoln's face literally drops when she's like, because she's sitting in between them and she's like, I would like to give the rose to Jean Blanc. Lincoln was like, So the next day after the group date, Lincoln is literally sitting around with a bunch of the guys crying about what happened with Connor. And I'm like, okay, you overdid it. Lincoln would like to thank the Academy. He would like to thank the producers at ABC. He would like to thank his mother. He would like to thank Jollof Rice. He would like to thank the entire country of Nigeria and Britain for the opportunity to be on The Bachelorette, ABC, American National Television, for allowing him this stage, this audience, to show his talents as a multifaceted personal trainer, life coach, and actor. I am gonna accept this award in his honor. Now this is overdone. This is like ridiculous. I'm sorry, sir, do you know that you're on national American television and you're crying? Sir, all the guys are just making fun of him on the low. Like in front of him, they're like, yeah, man, we understand, yeah. And on the low, they're talking mad mess about him. And it's just so funny. So then Becca has her one-on-one with Blake, which I explained earlier was absolutely great. And at the end of that, when they're having their dinner after he's talked about his ex, she gives him that rose and all of our hearts melt. So, all right, so the next group date that they have is with the rest of the guys except for two. I think Mike and one other guy actually didn't have any dates with her because it just the way the numbers weren't, they weren't in any dates. So they're playing dodgeball. So first they go to a gym and they have some little kids who, by the way, were great actors, yelling at them, trying to get them to do stuff. Christon is there. Leo is there. I think Garrett is there. Like a couple key players are in this group. And they get to the gym and they're running back and forth. And Christon does not care. He is playing dodgeball, girl. He throws balls at Becca. And I thought that was so much fun. Later on, they have like a real dodgeball competition sports kind of thingy at Sky Zone, which is like where you go with the trampolines and you can jump around. And every time when they're playing, it's the green team against the pink team, and the green team keeps winning, but Leo keeps being the last man standing on the pink team. So I think that really helps him to stand out. Chris, the host, is having a conversation with this older gentleman who's like a comedian, and they do this really weird bit about balls. And I'm like, this is borderline not appropriate for ABC television, but at the same time, it was so cleverly done that I think people might not have gotten it. But I thought that was kind of fun. John is on this date as well. This is the Venmo guy who I'm secretly rooting for because he's a nerd and I want him to find love. Invention is key in this technological age. And so finding a guy who's like up with that, they're just thinking about the future. So later on that evening, after they have the dodgeball group date, she ends up going on one-on-ones with the guys that are in that group, and she has her one-on-one with Garrett, which seems to go really well. You guys were telling me that I need to Google Garrett and see all of his like crazy tweets being, was it like misogynistic or something? I'm not gonna search it yet. I'm waiting for it to either A, come out on the television show, or like get a little further on in the season and see what happens. Kind of like Lee. Like I knew Lee had crazy tweets, but I didn't look into it just because I kind of want to live in the fantasy for a while. You know what I'm saying? And then after Garrett, she has a little one-on-one with Wills, and then she has a one-on-one with Christon. I don't really remember Christon's one-on-one, but it seemed very relaxing. Here's one thing I noticed about this entire process, and I think that's something that every woman should experience at least one time. It feels to me that in most dating scenarios that men have the upper hand. Women are constantly worrying about whether or not a man likes them and if the guy is into them, which is really, maybe I shouldn't say women, I should say me. So I think this would be a really self-esteem booster to be on a show where I knew the guys liked me, or at least were interested in getting to know me, and I knew that I wasn't gonna get like ghosted or weird personality after like 2 or 3 dates. You know what I'm saying? Like the confidence being in the position that Becca and Rachel and all the other bachelorettes are in is just gotta be so fulfilling, because dating, that's for me one of the hardest parts. It's like, does he like me? Like, why won't he say so? Why is he being aloof? Or why is he being too extra? Like, where's the balance? And in this, you know the guys like you, so there's no excuse. You just get to know each other. They just get to know you. She ends up having a really good conversation with Wills, and he seems really relaxed. There are some guys that are just nervous, that are really trying to like do like a speed date type thing, and there are other guys who just have the equal sort of confidence of like, hey, we're getting to know each other. Like, let's just do that, you know? A little kiss here, a little information there. Her kiss with Wills was just like really, I was just like, woo! The kiss with Wills and the kiss with Jean Blanc, I was just like, I want to know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? Wills is giving me like, there's a celebrity he looks like Tease, and I don't know what it is, you know? I can't remember, but I'm going to figure it out. He looks like an R&B singer. I really like his outfit on him too, and so does Becca. So later on, we find out that Colton has a secret. So the secret that Colton is holding is that prior to being on this show, he briefly dated Tia. And Tia was another contestant on The Bachelor along with Lauren. I believe that she was top 4. Her and Tia have known each other for quite a bit and have gone through the same process with each other. And Colton's kind of worried to let Becca know this, and I could see why he's worried about it. But there's one thing that I didn't understand about this entire process. I didn't realize, I guess people must audition for this. Bachelors and bachelorettes must audition for this over and over again, and are kind of just waiting for their time to come up, especially if producers like them. So they may know each other from this entire process. They may know each other just from being in the bachelorette world. And having the conversation with Becca, Colton let me know that that's kind of what's going on. I guess because the bachelors don't know who the bachelorette is going to be. They just kind of have a guess based on who was on previous seasons. Becca's thinking that Colton might have thought that the bachelorette would have been Tia, And then him and Tia had already had some kind of relationship. So she's thinking that Colton is kind of accidentally one of her bachelors, you know? So it's the night of the rose ceremony and Becca's nervous. She's getting ready. She ends up having like a little one-on-one time with Clay, and Clay's trying to alleviate some of her stress and the pressure by doing a little like football thing with her where they throw the football and then they do like a touchdown yard dance. And then you can tell I don't really watch football. They do that, and then I mean this dress looks amazing on her, girl. This dress is like glitter. It's my life. They do like a little dance, and then they have a kiss, and I mean she has to go and pull him in. I mean she has to pull in Blake too for the kiss, but like Clay feels like he's somebody who never lets his feelings show in like a Hulk body, but doesn't want to let the Hulk go. And he's intentionally trying not to be antagonistic. And part of me thinks that it might have something to do with just his stature and his size and people automatically assuming bad of him. Part of me feels like Clay is running under the auspice of respectability politics, regardless of if he knows it or not. Connor comes up with a picture of himself. He apologizes. He gets up. He gives her the frame and he lets her throw that guy, the guy who was in the picture, the guy who acted up after the competition with Lincoln, who threw Lincoln's picture in the water. And she's like, here. He's like, here, take this frame, throw it into the water. Let's get rid of that guy. I am not that guy. And he absolutely redeems himself. And he redeems himself to me too, you know, because that's what's important. And again, you know, Jordan is using words that he does not know the definition to, saying that people are ingenuity. He's never heard anyone say that word. He's never heard anyone say that word. He's never read it anywhere. Ingenuity. Disingenuine? Is that what he's trying to say? Ingenuity. What's the definition of ingenuity?
Ingenuity means the quality of being clever, original, and inventive.
Not ingenuity, ingenuity. So here's some quotable things that Jordan has said. Nothing attracts a woman more than being comfortable next to a sexy man. So Jordan decides that he is going to have a little one-on-one with her and take off his clothes and just be in his boxer briefs. So while David is having his one-on-one with Becca, Jordan just walks up and is like, you know what, I'm going to take time to have my little one-on-one with her because I'm a sexy, confident guy and that's what she wants and that's what she deserves and that's what she needs next to her at all times. So I'm going to give her that. And so then once he sits down, he says, you know what, I'm sorry to interrupt the chicken, but I just want to let you know that I'm not 007 all the time. I'm a wild, fun guy, as you can tell. You know, I'm comfortable in my body. And I just wanted to show you that this is me. My hair will always be well kept, but I'm definitely into fun and being wild and spontaneous. I'm actually kind of impressed that the 2 out of the 3 people that she gave the roses to were guys that I didn't think she was going to give the rose to. And so it makes me feel like, you know what, Becca is really exploring all of her options and I can feel that and I'm getting it and I'm low-key here for it, you know? At the rose ceremony, they're panning the guys and there's this one guy who I do not recognize because he has decided to do his hair like it's like 2001. He's trying to be the new host of American Idol. It looks really bad. If I can find a picture of Alex at that rose ceremony, I will absolutely show you because he looks ridiculous. And I know that is the #1 reason why he didn't get a rose that night. So who else got the rose? Okay, so Chris R got the rose. And I finally figured out why they're calling him Chris R because Christon goes by Chris as well. Just we haven't been introduced to him as Chris. So we're like, why do we need a Chris R? It's Chris R and Christon. Those are 2 different names, but whatever. So Christon got it, Jason, John, Clay, Mike with the long blonde hair, Connor, David, Garrett, Nick, Jordan, Lincoln, Ryan, and Colton. The people who didn't get it is Alex and Ricky, and then some guy named Ryan, I think. Oh no, Ryan got it. I don't know. Alex and Ricky didn't get it. Ricky's the other black dude. Everybody was on pins and needles at that, you know, except for obviously Wills, Jean, and Blake, because they had already got their rose from earlier in the evening. All right, you guys, so that is the end of this episode. Please let me know what you thought. I really hope you enjoyed this review. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you always know when I post videos because YouTube sometimes is a little janky. It really just helps to get my reviews out there and I would absolutely appreciate it. And have a fantastic day. All right, bye.